Be set in a comfortable meditation posture and close the eyes. Put your attention on the silence that is always there deep in the mind. This is your connection with the silent witness. You are the silent witness. Become the silent witness with just your intention to do so. Feel that shift of perspective from the field of unbounded, pure awareness. Now listen to the words of the Yoga Vasishtha from this highest perspective. Book 4, Chapter 43, verse 50. The mind is carried away by the current of business like a man borne by the waves of the sea. Lifted, O Ram, from this pit, as they do an elephant sinking in the mud. Lift your mind by force, O Ram, like a bullock, from his delusive puddle to the world where it is shorn of its brightness and is weakened in its frame. What Vasishtha is saying here, lift up your mind by force, is an important statement. In the Sanskrit, what it is saying is, use your strong will to redirect the focus of your mind from the outward illusory universe to the inward direction, to the direction of the silent witness. From the man whose mind is troubled in this world by successions of joy and grief, or by the vicissitudes of weakness from old age, disease, and death, is no human being. He resembles a monstrous Rakshasa demon, although he may have the figure of a man on him. This is the plight of most of the human race today. The focus is not in the present moment, established in the silent witness. In fact, that only occurs at level of consciousness 600 and above, on a basis of 24 hours a day. In the world today, there are fewer than 800 people right now established at level of consciousness 600 or higher. We do the math on that. $800 divided by 7 billion 800 million. The number is exceedingly small. 0.000001. A tiny percentage of the human race. This is why it is possible for entities to control the human race, to create the situation we face in the world today. If you become established, level of consciousness 600 or higher, it will affect the lives of over 16 million people, lifting them up to another higher level of consciousness. This is a task worth doing and a service worth performing for humanity. Chapter 43, Varieties of Living Souls. Vashishta continued. Thus the living soul, being derived from Brahman, assumes to itself the form of the mind and is tossed about with the thoughts and cares of the world. Then it is changed into thousands and millions of forms that it creates to itself in its imagination. It has undergone many prior births and is in the course of migrating into many more. It will reincarnate into many more as multitudinous as the flitting particles of a waterfall. These atomic souls of living beings, being subjected to their desires by the great variety of their wishes, are made to wander under many forms to which they are bound by their desires. These desires arise from individual karmic traces. They wander constantly in different directions and in distant countries, both by land and water. They live or die in those places like bubbles, blown out only to float and burst and then sink in the water below. Some are produced for the first time in a new kalpa age, and others are born 100 times in it. Some have had only 2 or 3 births, while the births of others are beyond number. Some are yet unborn and are to be born yet on earth. And many others have passed their births by attainment of their liberation at last. Some are alive at present, and others are no more to be born. Some are born again and again for myriads of kalpas. Some remain in one state all along, and many in various states, repeatedly changing their forms and natures. Some are subjected to the great misery of hell, and some are destined to a little joy on earth. Some enjoy the great delights of the gods in heaven, and others are raised to the glory of the heavenly bodies above. Some are born as Kinnars and Gandharvas, and others as Vidyadhar and huge serpents. Some appear in the forms of the sun god, Indra and Varuna, and others in those of the three-eyed Shiva and the lotus-born Brahma. Some become the Kushmanda demons and Vitala demon goats, and others as Yaksha and Raksha, demon cannibal. Some again become the Brahmins and the ruling class, and others become Vaishyas and Sudras. Some become Swapacha and Chandala, and others Kiratis and Pukasha, tribals. Some become the grass and greens on earth, and others as the seeds of fruits and roots of vegetables, or as moth and butterflies in the air. Some are formed into varieties of herbs and creeping plants, and others into stones and rocks, some into Jama and Kadamba trees, and others into Sala, Palm, and Tamala forests. There are some placed in prosperous circumstances, becoming ministers and generals and rulers of states. While others are clad in rags and remain in religious recluses, munis, and silent hermits in the woods. Some are born as snakes, serpents, worms, insects, and ants. There are others in the form of great lions, big buffaloes, deer and goats, and fleet antelopes in the forest. Some are begotten as storks and cranes, ruddy geese and cuckoos. Others become their pastures in the shapes of lotuses, water lilies, and other aquatic shrubs and flowers. Some are brought forth as elephants and their cubs, and as wild boars and bulls and asses. Others come into being as bees and beetles, flies and gadflies, gnats and mosquitoes. Many are born to difficulties and dangers, and many to prosperity and adversity. Some are placed in hell pits and others in their heavenly abodes. Some are situated in the stars and some in the hollows of trees. Some move upon the wings of the winds, and others rest in the still air above or fly freely in the sky. Many dwell in the sunlight of the day, and many subsist under the moonbeams at night. There are others subsisting upon the beverages they draw from herb-like plants. Some are liberated in their lifetime and wander about freely in this earth. Others live in blissful states. Some are altogether free in their reliance in the Supreme Spirit. There are some that require long periods for their blessed and ultimate liberation. Some disbelieve the intellectuality and spirituality of mankind and dislike being reduced to the singleness of the one soul, or to be reduced to their oneness or unity within the silent witness. Some become regents of the skies above, and others roll down in the form of mighty streams. Some become beautiful appearance females, and others as ugly hermaphrodites and freaks. Some of the enlightened understandings, and some are darkened in their minds. Some are preachers and lecturers of knowledge, and others are ecstatic consciousness of samadhi. The living souls who are dominated by their desires are so powerless of themselves that they have forgotten their freedom and are fast chained to their wishes. They rove about the world, now flying up and then falling down in their hopes and fears. They are constantly tossed up and down, like play balls flung on all sides by the relentless hands of playful death. Trapped in the hundredfold snare of desire and converted to the various forms of their wishes, they pass from one body to another, as birds fly from one tree to another, to alight on another. The endless desires of the living soul, bred and led by the false imagination of the mind, have spread this enchanted snare of illusion, known by the name of the great world. Stupefied souls are doomed to wander about in the world like waters in a whirlpool. As long as they do not come to understand the true nature of their selves as self-same with the Supreme Self, the silent witness. Having known and seen the true self, the silent witness, by forsaking their false knowledge of their individual egos, a false, illusory collection of their individual karmic traces, they come to their consciousness of themselves as identical with the divine self, the silent witness. Having attained this in process of time, they are released from their doom of revisiting this world of pains and sorrow. It is the accumulation of individual karmic traces that cause the reincarnation again and again in the physical world. When we have achieved moksha level 1, we have balanced sufficient individual karmic traces to be in a constant state of awareness of the silent witness as who we are. Yet the individual karmic traces are not completely balanced. They remain established like a huge mountain range, with a tunnel bored in the center of it, showing the glorious sun, the Paramajyoti, or Krishna's effulgence, which is always there, illuminating and enlivening all life. When they become aware of this Paramajyoti, Krishna's effulgence, 24 hours a day, the individual has reached moksha level 1, but is always in danger of falling back into the deep well of samsara. All it takes is one rock from the ceiling of this tunnel, one rock that is composed of individual karmic traces, to come into the awareness. And if the vigilance of maintaining the silent witness as who you are is lost for a moment by the energy of this individual karmic trace, it is possible to become again ensnared in the web of individual karmic traces. There are many pits and tunnels in the tunnel that has been created in the mountain range of karmic traces. We must carefully live our lives centered in the silent witness at all times. Once we have achieved Brahman consciousness, we are living on the level of the divine karmic traces. We are living on the level of the creator of this universe. We are living above the threat of becoming once again embroiled in the samsara, the illusion of this universe. We know we are the creator of the universe. We know it's all illusion. It has no attraction. Always we are focused on Paramajyoti, the effulgence of Krishna, the supreme silent witness. So this is our objective. This is why the Sahasra Sirsha Brahma meditation has been created. This is why the Goloka project with its 1,000 communities is in existence. It is all for you to achieve the necessary time you need in this physical world to achieve Brahman consciousness. As a side benefit, as you rise to the level of Brahman consciousness in this physical lifetime, you will be blessing all of humanity with a higher level of consciousness. Now let us continue established in the silent witness and balance all the individual karmic traces that have been enlivened by today's reading of the Yoga Vasishta. We will do this through the process of Trimana Sanyama on the esoteric Mahamantra, the absolutely most effective and powerful technique for balancing individual karmic traces at their source on the level of Manomaya Kosha. Jai Gurudev.